You spend tens of thousands of rands on sorcery and Christians get what they want anyway. You waste imali just like my mom. You flush it down the toilet. And those that you tried to rob with your spells will indeed be the ones to be incubated in days of famine, while you bring your own famine through your own rapacity, your own greed, your own selfishness, and your own stinginess. Your own miserliness will close your own money from out your appearing in stacks in your bank accounts. But saints who ain't got jack, not only are they going to be sustained in a day of trouble, but they will also, once God is done plaguing you by causing you to flush your own money down a toilet, you will then give them gold and silver to get out of Egypt so your God doesn't plague us. And see, all of y'all are just as superstitious as my mom. She is going to eventually give me what it is that I need, but so too are you. She is going to give me exactly what I need, be it directly because she fears my God or she fears her own gods. But you will also be fed up with losing my business, losing imali, me standing in the gap, me getting what I want anyway, while you continue to ukuqhitheka ingati you are isaga lamatapule that's got a hole in it. You will keep on qhitheka. You will not be able to maintain wealth. You will spend on nothing, even though, listen, ngaphandle kuyanetha, you can just flush toilet ngamanzi wemvula, but you weren't even thinking about that. So not only was the water to flush a toilet outside, but the water in the house came back within mere minutes of flushing bottled water. Stuff like that will be a thing. It'll elude you, that which you know you must do. All the resources that are available for you to industriously exploit, you will strangely not see them, like my mom did, strangely not see pula as a solution. Nami, I was too disillusioned to say, hey, but it's raining. It's raining. I was too pained and too obedient as a servant I sent around all over the show without having anything. You robbed me of money. You put me in your car to go and buy me. Listen, don't you see you're using your own daughter as a servant? But hey, I'm an obedient servant, so I go and I buy water and I get myself face wash while I'm at it. While you will flush your water. You will flush your own money. And then eventually in the end, upon realizing, upon realizing, you will then stop doing what you're doing and blame it on gods. You will stop doing what you're doing and blame it on gods. It's right now almost 11 a.m. in the morning. I need to stop talking. You will eventually blame it on gods or God. Listen, it doesn't matter what deity you believe in. Your idolatry at this particular moment is of no essence. You will nonetheless, be it for the sake of your God or Garabo's God, give my daughter what she needs. Lawyer, and you sow discord and you make mothers dream nasty about their daughters. And then you are worse than my dad. So I eat discord between my grandmother, my grandfather, and my mom. Was not involved in hard knock satanic stuff. He was just a jerk. So essentially you are worse even than my dad. You are a far worse version than even my dad. Your issue is not just bourgeois, irresponsibility, hedonism, uglimaza, and loving to sleep around nabafazi, and ogling and salivating at young ladies at funerals. Now you are over and above it, nitwe. Over and above. Impilo, eniziphilayo, nitwele. So essentially you are far worse than my dad. My dad was not physically abusive. My dad never tried to kill my mom. You are murderous. You are worse than even my really lackluster father. Bese mina ngizomthatha. Futhi ubaba wami akunambanye amanga siblings amanye that I know of la estradini. There's nobody else of a woman that has ever given my dad children. My dad's kids born kebazedwe. Look at this. In marriages. He married my mom first, then my sister was born, and then me. Then he married his second wife, and then my half brother was born into that space. Ubaba wami, while being a most deadbeat jerk, Mamela was not Nick Cannon. My dad did not make babies with inyas all over Johannesburg. These siblings that I don't know about in these streets. I don't have any siblings I don't know about. Mamela, I don't. My little sister, you're the one who's dead. Across multiple baby mamas, including my mom. She's the one with a polygamous dad that was littered across these streets with whom he had children. But my father was always a married man before he made a baby. So essentially my dad slays even you in character. He might have cheated on my mom, but there was never any love children born of other women, and every child born was always inside wedlock. There was never any illegitimate children. So those of y'all who are trying to put a baby in my stomach, remember, Funo njengawe, father of my baby. My dad never prided himself in putting a tattoo of a baby in the stomach of a woman. Umchadile made an honest woman out of both women that gave him children. You are worse than a man that I have no respect for. You are just like him, only worse. You are like cystic acne, while my dad was just pimples. You're cystic acne. You're an inflammation, a flare-up that is like all over the body, while my dad was like a localized rash. You are worse than my dad. And ubaba wami ke meganga nasaqala ka di-STD. My dad was not on ARVs when he died. My dad was not on antibiotics when he died. My father passed away from prostate cancer at a ripe old age. Y'all are getting qitad by STDs. The one dude has oral herpes. Omu abanye bane what do you call it? HIV indeed. Mara warts, genital warts that God showed me. HIV is a thing between all of them. Mara other STDs like chlamydia are a thing. And stuff like that comes when you feel like you've got a mandate from the occult. Futi, my dad wasn't a hybrid. Also doing that can't get born again. He was not umtagati, just a jerk. Nina, however, yes, like it. Bandla, oh, you slay. In the worst way. AIDS. And my father was also, like I said, STDs. That's what pill he was popping. Those were his daily intake of ARVs. That's what gave him full-blown disease. Alcoholism. Mara, any other diseases. So he was a broke guy, anything by the time he passed away. He would not have had any time. Seeing as he was a drunk out here perusing the shebing the spot to be constantly going to public clinics uyolanda ama ARV or even ama antibiotics meyenaskhathi ubaba wami for impilo nje yomuntu ohlala aguliswa ngama disease. By the time he died, his one illness was lebotolo vodka, stiff alcohol. That was my dad's disease. Y'all wants to qitha ama disease into umzimba wami and then make me take care of all y'all's stepchildren abangaki. Like really and truly, my dad's ex-working second wife dealt with only 2 daughters coming from a previous marriage. She dealt with 2 daughters coming from a previous marriage. That woman had a son out in another relationship that she was in the past. My dad's second wife. Lona, this is a creature Lona go fella yabana by 20. Listen, some dudes got 40 kids, not almost by 20. They've got multiple children across many women. Some of them are polygamists. Even though they don't have many wives, they've got certainly one wife and many mistresses. Okay. My dad was a mess, but he don't compare to any of y'all. So you are thoroughly trying to make a far worse situation out of me than even what my dad was. And my dad was a gentle giant. It's what you must understand. Not gentle giant, but a gentle dwarf. He had dwarfed himself by the time of end of his life. He was a happy drunk. My father was a happy drunk, so he would never swear at you and revile and speak smack to you. And violence. My dad would also never rape, never touch a woman. It was not what he did. He was just very irresponsible. Nabantu that he was supposed to love. That was my dad. That was never my dad. Gender-based violence, no. He was a happy drunk. That's why he was so popular amidst people. What a disappointment he was. Community. He wasn't rude. You guys are rude and you're diseased. And not only are you rude and diseased, but you're also violent. Guys, what makes you think that God is going to put me, who is his daughter, in the household of men abanjena? So discourse so they can get to the daughter. You are worse, like I said, than even my father. So we understand I am quite a great lady, but I was made by God for a particular man for whom I am bespoke. And what it is that has happened in this new society, this 2025 year, these streets of modern day, you have divorced yourselves from the ways of Abazale, even Abenu, that were really whack. Women, my mother, is not the best of ladies, but she's still a far better character than any of y'all. The chick wako YouTube is trying to kill me. My mom is just negligent. This chick is actively trying to kill me. Listen, you are worse than your mothers, and you are worse than your dads, and your mothers and your dads leave a lot to be desired. You are worse than your mothers, and you're worse than your dads, and your moms and your dads leave so much to be desired that frankly, if all this nonsense stopped at them, it would be nonsense too much. Yet you managed to go and improve upon that. I'm not going to hang out with crazy folk of that nature, and so while you might be out here trying to sing ballad nam, relate on old school music. I'll just get touched with nostalgia when you listen to me. I'm not yours for the taking. You must be mistaken. I ain't gonna look into your eyes and settle for wrong and ignore the right. Cause I found the Lord whom I love more than I ever did you before. So stand beside the river I cried and let yourself down. Look how you want me now that I don't need you. Mamelangi nonsense, so it's never gonna give. It's never gonna give. I am not going to get angin betrayang. I'm only telling you Dorizeno as snacks. Y'all are the ones that stabbed me in the back with witchcraft, and now you are just trying to reminisce on our lives. But you don't have the innocence of youth, you only miss it. Tweleng manje, niphetha abomamlambo manje, nithakatha abangani manje. You got ahead in your careers by any means necessary manje. You betrayed abantu ngemithi and sakwazi ukuqhula isquare for hire together without feeling pain, man. Listen, and so because nimoshile, you don't get to hang out with me while I'm out here listening to do heal. You don't get to be like, yo, that used to be my jam back in the day, but I'm in Christ now, I don't listen to trash. You don't get to hear Binaya tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if it ain't good enough for you, babe. Oh my goodness, Drew Hill. Remember when it was out new on the market? Cisco, busy here. Somebody's sleeping in my bed. Oh, I thought mama like kiss sweat even though Kim's alone. Nobody who can love you like me. Nobody. Much over like kids sweat. I hope I'm a dipina zahona. Abuti asita hona habane kabuti mo you stabbed me in the back, so it doesn't matter. That never ever gonna let you go used to be our jam. It doesn't matter if you also love T.I. and Rihanna and Maya. It don't matter because you stabbed me in the back. You don't get to rock up with all that moral turpitude excelling that of your parents and slay me with your presence in my company, even though I am fed up with my mom and dad each, and you're worse than them. I am fed up with my mom, I'm fed up with my dad, boy too. And then Yabandlula with malevolence. You are worse than them. You are worse than them. You would never buy me a fan. You would say, Isha. Who do you think you are? Everybody got to do what they need to do to get ahead. Lawyer, saying, oh man, rejected in Totsena. No, but at least I got a fan. Lily Tempons Edicana. Say true. You don't even give me mayonnaise. Like I said, I'm fed up with my parents, but you're worse than them. So how much more fed up with you am I? That's why I get it. While my mom never killed my dad, I would kill you because you are worse than my dad. Ubawam was a happy drunk nina nizongitlapa. Ubawam akanigezanga any of his wives, both my mom and his ex-wife, STDs. Kodwa nina. I am fed up with those randos, but you're worse than both. Uncle Yaka, not the best of men. Unanyetse mosadi. So life in Jeffela, even though that's not matric. No, not jaga hike sa tola degree yaka. In the way that my uncle never rock at my aunt. I'm fed up with my uncle and his wife and his children, but you're worse than them. Nah, his kids are worse than them. What I'm trying to get at is that Ntoni Linyona excels the wickedness of the former generations. It's a moral turpitude and a gangrene that has spread so far that you are now irrecoverably, just dastardly, as opposed to the ways of your parents. And if Abazali Benu, they get to a ripe old age, like my mom is now older. Since they never stable and they're holding on to their guns, if at all their attitudes, little snacks, it's still lingering, even though umuntu ulimele. But you guys still have 25 years to cover to get that senile. If my mom is still unapologetic all these years later, Nina, you still got ground to cover now, or you've got the energy of youth. So listen, you will be much more disrespectful than even my mom ever can be today. You are far from being contrite. You are far from being brokenhearted. You are far from actually seeking repentance. Far, because umawam una 60. What? And she still is looking at me like what I bought. How much far from getting to a point of being a little bit better to at least buy me a fan and small tampons. Sitting too. How much farther are you from getting at least there? Y'all idiots would literally turn me 50 with no children and no love if it was within you would turn me 50 if it was within your prerogative to do so. But God knows I gotta give birth to Perez. God knows I gotta give birth to Judah. God knows I gotta give birth to Boaz. God knows I gotta give birth to John the Baptist, Samuel. I have to bring forth a child of promise. And so whether you are holding me hostage, and given that you are meaner than your mom and dad and your grandfather, given that you've got more gnarly sores on your body than your deadbeat uncles, if it was not for the intervention of God out here plaguing the atmosphere to plague you, I would never live, I would never breathe, because I am barely living and breathing under a mother that has barely kept me alive. All of y'all are meaner than them. all. You are meaner than my uncle, meaner than my aunt, meaner than my mom. You are worse than abazali bethu that abangenandaba nabantwana. At your hands, I am far more in danger. You are merciless in ways that your parents weren't. I would die if God did not severely plague you. And so understand, whatever mild plaguing you might see mojaradeng coming to my mom kadi microwave out of the blue, that mild affliction on the microwave is going to be your whole entire business crashing and burning. No more tenders. My mother out here lost an oscillating microwave. You will lost an oscillating business. Because are you not more evil than my mom? Are you not more wicked than our parents? Le phala batswadi ba rona ba ne ba le snacks ba topa bona ba borileng bana by engaging them through hard lives, because bona o tlile botlhoko. You are worse. So if at all you are worse, your calamities are also worse. Your losses are worse. Imivuzo yenu are worse. My mom lost a house in Manchester Hills, another one in Rimsach, and etc. Nina nyolahlekelwa ngithi ngama business wonke. You will go back to Ekasi and never recover. You will lose everything and never recover, because your wickedness excels that even of your fathers. You know how in the scriptures the Lord laments through prophets that y'all are worse than the Philistines, you're worse than the Moabites, you are worse than the Amorites, you are Israel, and yet your harlotry excels that of the Philistines. That's what you guys are like. You grew up in a generation or an era where you were given the gospel freely, plus you were out of apartheid, so you didn't have all that oppression, having all the blessings therefore of Israel. You nonetheless went and squandered yourself going a-whoring, and in your whoredom worsened yourselves in your calamities than Sodom. You walked in a harsher diabolicalism even than your sister Gomorrah. You were worse than Sodom, than Gomorrah, worse than Sidon, than Tyre, worse than the Philistines, worse than the Moabites, worse than the Assyrians, worse than the Edomites. If it's an enemy of God, if it's an Ite, a Jebusite, a Gibeonite, a Midianite, listen, you were worse than them all, and yet you were the ones cupped with health by God, ushered into a new South Africa with no racial oppression, and you still went and decimated a perfectly livable country that was flowing with milk and honey out here bringing forth grapes for Cape Town. And despite all that, you idiots, despite Imvula that is so bountiful that you can afford to part ways with some of it to Iran, you will nonetheless endure the drought at the level of Iran, because bona modimo file pula for dibeke too, that even though pula ya teng might have cracked open your the screens of imoto's head, nonetheless, now that the rain has stopped and the sun is shining, it's gonna bring forth green grass. How did it spoiled like that? Out your harvesting crop despite being so evil. You will maintain your wickedness, but understand the only reason why the land is still bringing forth fruit is because there are still saints here. You've got born again Christians, so we need to be out here eating of the fruit of the vines of grapes at Cape Town. We need to be drinking wine. We need to be eating honey. We need to be eating locusts. We need to be eating that which we need to be eating. So therefore God will bring forth crop in this land for the sake of the righteous. But once, like Lot, he takes people out of Sodom that you're worse than, then you will know what it's like. You can't wash dishes, and listen, it's going to last indefinitely until your Ayatollah Khamenei type, like crazy little regime leader properly tells you move all of Tehran. Move from Tehran. You will say y'all need to be moved from Tehran to live somewhere else because we can't give you water. You need to move to a new capital. We need to go and get a new capital because Tehran is not giving enough water. How are you gonna move an entire city full of how many millions of people? You will endure that level of drought, and you will realize that you were spoiled brats, idol worshippers, and God only spared your country for the sake of the remnant in here. But seeing as in Iran, there's only a remnant, and they're so persecuted that they gotta leave the country, and so God is plaguing them like this. Here in South Africa, the nation is starting to become uninhabitable for saints. So therefore you will also have the day coming when and no water is gonna come out. You won't be able to wash dishes or bottled water. You will stop flushing it down the toilet. You will not be so spoiled with all of your luxury so as to use bottled water or your flusher. Listen, pee and poop. You will know. Well, there was no poop because we were quite done pooping, right? However, there was certainly quite a lot of pee in there. The days came when I literally went and flushed amaponekwa bottles down the toilet. I bought, and how much money did she spend? The total cost of, I made sure I went where I was within a budget. So the total cost of those purchases was like maybe $250, $300 including my face wash. That's how much in total was spent. No, $250 pretty much in total, including your face wash, cinnamon. That's how cheap the bottles of water were. My thing is, you can part ways with 250 rands, but you can't just give it in cash to Karabo. You can't give that thing to Karabo in cash because you are listening to a spell. And then over the next coming days, I get a microwave went awry. We didn't kill a microwave yet thing, even though nature is sadijo. It was not, however, oscillating and wasn't making a sound. Why tata a microwave, why isa wherever for repairs. Go warranty. She basically claimed on her warranty. And then wabuya, I remember orekisita microwave to the carpenter guy. Yachale, when she came with a new microwave, yadi students res. I was like, how? Eka microwave yachale. She was like, no, ele werekileng. During the time when the other microwave was giving grief, ele high sense. She was like, no, the guy on our plumber, not plumber, but wa carpenter, so for a small fee. I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, I can't live without a microwave. So she literally bought another small little cute microwave there white. Whatever microwave that like proper air going, I get the stand, yeah, microwave girlfriend. Because once microwave thing I she bought a new microwave. But bought $250 worth of a month. And then bought a microwave that I don't know what it cost 500 rand, 700 rand. It's a small L cheapo. That evidences that you could afford to give Karabo 700 rands. Because Kimo, given that microwave yakaho is in for repairs, you can't live without a microwave. You could have in that season warmed. Why is this fan looking like it's about to stop, Leona? You could have in that season warmed dijo ka oven or a stofo. You could have waited for the microwave to come back from repair, man. Because stofo sa sebetsa, so too does the oven. Instead, she bought another microwave. And I remember just looking at this on some listen, you could have given me chalta ewe regular microwave and raema for however long it takes for microwave omuncha to come from macro. Because dijo the solar panels because even my fan is starting to basically act it wants to stop. There is something about the surge of power. See, it's trying to stop. There is something about the surge of power coming from these solar panels that is causing things to stop working, like the fan. It's too much. And before it fades, I feel like I want to go and switch on mutlakasi. I'm going outside. God, Eskom again. Because my fan is out here literally threatening to switch off. I'll be back. She needs to go and correct whatever's going on with these solar panels. That's another piece of money. 1 minute. Yeah, there is definitely something in the solar panels that is overkilling. Do you understand? Listen to this fan now. The air that's coming out, and this fan was off when this one died because my cat was not in the house. And now that I have restored Eskom power. I've restored Eskom power. It's working properly again. When there's something in the wrong with the solar panels. There is something wrong with the solar panels. It brings electricity, but like I think there's just like such an excessive there is such an excessive force of power, like an excessive gumption of power, that it actually is overkilling in the electronics. It's overkilling. It like once caused even my charger and whatnot. So essentially, we're gonna have to be on Eskom and only turn on the solar panels when Eskom is load shedding, because it's not an option to keep solar panels on a loop going until they come and check them out and maintain. Mara, what it is that gets largely afflicted tends to be something that is in the house. So for as long as hahona, like the appropriate electricity supply that is never ever going. Yeah, unless there is that, my mother is going to keep on having appliances that keep on dying. But I told her, I remember when I told her that day, when there was like the death of plugs, the death of whatnot, flickerings, televisions are switching off. I was like, it's solar panels. And she was like, saying the solar panels, why it's on? I couldn't even give her an answer as to why I said it's the solar panels. Because she doesn't believe in my God. She doesn't trust prophecy. I was told during the day that the issue with power that's going to be coming to appliances, that's going to switch off computers and switch them on again. Switch off and on, and maybe even cause some things to stop working. Endlini. What switched off? You saw that, ne? Mara, it's on again. Whatever switched. Oh no, my phone. That's what switched off. That's what switched off. My phone is what switched off. Light, that was my phone. Is what under heaven switched off. But there's still power. I liked it, but wasn't it charging? I love my phone. I'm not ready to no, but I'm cool to switch on my computer because we're no longer on. Listen, I believe I can switch on my phone if I want to. I absolutely can switch on my computer insofar as it's on Eskom. Anyway, whatever. I'm losing my train of thought. Yeah, like I said, my family does not like my spiritual gifting. They like Joseph's brothers. Oh, here's the dreamer. Here's the dreamer. And so when I tell them about my dreams, they roll their eyes. I found out that the issue is solar panels. Otherwise, the process to diagnose the issue with why power keeps going off and on and why there's just such a heavy surge of electricity that like electrical appliances are out there passing away, it would have taken so much time and so much money. It would have, so therein lies the grace of God, even to my mom. It would have spent volumes of cash with electricians that even could be out here properly crooked, lying through their ugly teeth about what is going on over here, until finally after like 20,000 days, they'd be like, no, it must be the solar panels. It would have cost my mom just to get a diagnosis, just for a consultation, quite a bit of money. Instead, God is the one that told me it's solar panels. Like he didn't even say the solar unit or the solar power, it's the panels. There was something up with the panels. When they are just putting a whole surge of matcha into this stuff. So I said it's the solar panels, and she was like, why do you say that? Why Orekiti solar? I was like, I just know. I was like, I just know. And what did I do as a result of just knowing? Mutlakasi kept on switching off and on, right? I then made a decision to put the power, but I told her though, I was like, I'm gonna put the power in Eskom and turn off the solar panels. I'm gonna put the power in Eskom and then turn off solar. And I did that. I told her. So now she is on solar. We are on solar. Not on solar, but we are on Eskom. We are on Eskom, and when we're in Eskom, there's no issue with electricity when the electricity is on. But of course, the issue with Eskom is that every so often, like you saw earlier, there is a power cut. When there's a power cut, then I can switch on the solar panels. That's essentially an interim fix until she fixes the panels. But you see, she must fix the panels. She can't just leave them alone. Why? Because thanks to being on solar power, her electricity bill that she pays to Eskom has been significantly reduced. So if she doesn't correct the situation with the power bill, therein lies imali vuzayo. Yeah, proper. Mudimu knows how to handle people. If at all, what do you call this thing? If she doesn't fix this issue, Kari solar panels, month end, she's gonna get bill egana from Eskom because of everything running on Eskom. Washing machine Eskom, ketlele, microwave, electricity, lights outside, inside, the fan going, gesama, bon, geyser. Everything is now on Eskom, where before it was just the geyser on Eskom. So thanks to solar panels, which were a once-off payment, and she doesn't have to keep on paying any money to maintain, she was able to save money on electricity. This time around, however, month-end bill at December, the very month where she gave me a whole chunk of grief, just so we can have electricity that does not kill appliances. She will have to, however, pay quite the premium on electricity until, even though she would love to maybe maintain the interim fix of being on and off Eskom, on and off solar panels, she will have to fix the solar panels, because in and of herself, she will never ever agree to go back to that horrible hard knock life. So she will never be willing to go back to that horrible hard knock life of back in the day of power cuts. Like, listen, that's your life, not mine. Those horrible, dark and dreary, dingy, ominous, ghoulish days. They were like a haunted mansion of power cuts. Ain't nobody going back to that once you've gotten the luxury of solar power. Listen, nobody is going back to load shedding. Nobody's going back to load shedding once they have enjoyed solar power. Mamela, it's never happening. Utrelang bontate, libo usi bateng, babangata, basnacks, basubileng matekwane asajani. Nobody is going back to electricity area Eskom wailing on and off, out here doing like a mood swing, the way that you all out here being on some I'm on, I'm off, I like her, I don't like her, one Taza, one Kenya, what in Amaha, oh wonderful. Yeah, you be mood swinging like those like power cuts, out here feeling happy when the electricity comes back on with great euphoria, looking like a schizophrenic. This is a guata over moody when there's no power. No more going back to any of that. Life is not any peace, it's not any appeasement. Mamela, no. Once you've gone solar panels, you don't go back. Once you go solar panels, you don't go back. Once you go solar power, living in a country like South Africa, ain't nobody out here trying to go back to mood swinging, like nasty, malevolent power cuts, load shedding, proper. Nobody's fixing the electrical infrastructure the same way that nobody is fixing the water infrastructure in Iran. Nobody's out here giving them a little teapot of water, because all their rivers are drying up. Yeah, you be going through a famine now. Mara, all the famines that you can endure in 2025 and beyond. In days of famine, we enjoy plenty. So not only is my mom vuzaring imali because she gotta pay for things that she must take to the repairman. She gotta go buy, what do they call this thing? Fans. She gotta go buy this. Now she's also gonna pay power. She's also patala electricity bill. And all these things culminating, all of them kafela haditla. Like I said, she's superstitious. Maziza, uzobona ukuthi ipokoto lakhe liyavuza. Ja, because I did not get an electrician on time, I thought I could just leisurely chill out in combination at Eskom, because Gara was just going to keep on messing with those. She's found a workaround. Because she's miserly, she doesn't want to spend money. She is what we call parsimonious. So because she is as parsimonious as she is, God is going to make her fix those solar panels. Because ain't nobody be out there going back to the Stone Age. Whatever you're living out in, like proper caves, Neanderthals, yeah, of Eskom. We're not, no. Once you have been with solar panels, your little Neanderthal cave life here in South Africa that you deserve because you are being judged by God, you're not gonna deal. Honey Bumblebee, you are not going to be able acne. And we're hectic, you just out there oozing pus. You're not going back there. So given that there are all these luxuries of having perpetuated power, electricity, when nobody else in the neighborhood has electricity, given that that's like a whole thing, load shedding, just like that every so often occasionally is slapping you like a bad man into GBV. Yeah, that's what's given. Given that that's like a whole entire thing, the solar panels. Maybe even they're gonna have to be replaced, I don't know. That's all gonna set her back, and by the time she fixes those solar panels, she's going to realize that because of 700 meager rands that you wouldn't give Karabo 500, you ended up having to replace solar panels. You ended up having to deal with issues, the microwave cracked up. You had to defend it to, you had to buy them again. Thanks to you buying mayonnaise, thanks to you buying the tampons and you ended up having to part ways with all of your gold and all of your silver. Thanks to the Hebrews refusing to let God's people go, they ended up having to deal with a state rebuild after their nation was debilitated from trying to hold on to God's people. They could have knowledge transferred and taken on from the Hebrews while their country would have been largely maintained. But instead, now they had to rebuild after all those plagues slapped Egypt. So she's going to have to spend a lot more for simply plaguing me. But just like Pharaoh and just like the Egyptians, she's going to know that the plagues are befalling her precisely because of mamela o ka se tlo mamela ditlhare tsa monna wa mokokotelo o snacks wa mokhaba wa lekoko o itswetsang gore never again. It's Karabo gonna buy. Bese ukarabo ayothenga espa very shortly after that little statement. Azitshela ukuthi uzongenza inyathi i-side piece. Some gross guy from the occult nje fela. Etloba mono. He's gonna be my husband. Mamela la nyontsha. I hate them. Like, they will impoverish the living daylights out of God's daughters. How Egyptians respond to being plagued. Let's see how her mom responds to an evidence of plaguing. She will ultimately respect some gods because she will understand that gods are the reason why plagues are falling. While she might have no reverence for the one true God, she will certainly accrue it to Badimu why everything is breaking apart. Superstitious mucho. Udlanza mamela di video ko Instagram. Ancestral worship. She doesn't worship my God, and I don't know what it's gonna take for her to worship my God, and I'm rooting for her. But at the end of the day, be it for the name of her gods or mine, she will nonetheless restore the people of my God. That's how God works, by providence. So all the best, Jilla. All the best, Jilla, making me whatever you want to make me, and all the best thinking that God is going to let this thing get to a point where it is that I have committed suicide. The Lord will not let me get so persecuted, so abused, and feel so forlorn and forsaken that there will be nothing working in favor for me. That there will be no angelic presences actively by providence causing things to cause a superstitious people to ultimately restore to me that which they need restored, to restore to me that which will give them peace ultimately. My mother is just a pagan in the worst way, and so superstition in believing it's because of ntwa. So right now what's about and so based on the battle, despite when I put Matesa was no halitosis mokaba onkhang wale koko, saying that I will never buy again, Mamela, I'm not only gonna buy, but you're gonna give me that gold. And you're gonna give me that silver. My mother will give me the gold. My mother will give me the silver. And then you will let me get out of Egypt. Because Mamela, I ain't yours for the taking. When I say Gobo, don't sing it bana. Happy you're a hybrid. I'm not yours for the taking. I'm too gorgeous, I'm wonderful. Top of that, I am too much of a put-together lady. Top of that, I'm too passed up by crazy guys that need to be shown flames when I get married. I am just much too much of a glory for the Lord and a hindrance and a disturbance of the kingdom of darkness for y'all to win. I am too important. I am on a gargantuan mission and I will indeed embark on it and finish what I started. Listen, I will finish in Tweki Kadileng, and even though for a day I might feel heavily suicidal, the Lord will show me. O tla bona gore ke tlo etsang ka di-solar panels tse ke tlo di robang. O tlo fiwa everything we batla, because I'm gonna make it impossible for them to essentially preserve imali. Akuzo-maintainwa imali. Zinjani nilalelani. Halo ba le tšhelete. Lo fokotswa tje ka mme wa ka. You've been prophesied over by Cherry e sebetsang ko Tops. Hore kaze we how you gonna go just like that? And flashy man. That chick was prophesying not over my mother. No, my mother, that her putting that water more toilet bowling. As I cheva, even though nobody pulled like a month. Days of famine, however, we got plenty. Nonetheless, nizolahlela imali yenu in i-toilet nizovuza zinsha nize ningeze i-YouTube channel yam letlovuza dintsha libe le ngatoge man letlovuza dintsha letlogele boloyi man letlovuza dintsha le accept ga ke le batle le snacks. You don't get to partake in memories where I ought to be reminiscing about the past, cause Papa, you threw that away the day you made a decision. My mother's activity is a prophecy against you. The lady at the spa prophesied against you. Chelete mo toileting le qene le file bana ba modimo ntho tsa ba di deservang. And lona, even though you thought you could give yourself a constant supply of electricity, the very source of your electricity will be the reason why you have to keep on buying new everything ejartini. And then nizozifihla futhi when then you rock up la ejartini, seeing as you had impinji la ejartini that you treated like trash. Because a new table when your daughter has nothing to her name. You are actively spitefully hurting her. You don't even know why you're doing this thing. Mara no, I don't stop and just because of her conscience. Cause utembi ndaba yokuthi is strong. Lomfazi wona trust that I'm not gonna kill myself. I've stayed alive. So therefore, that I'm gonna be alive another day. Yeah, she doesn't know how much suicide ideation dwells in my bones. I'm on my way out. She does not see that I am deeply cogitating the prospect of who's tata. Cause kya frazwa kitaba batho ba tshepa strength sack. They say, oh God, Atikarabo, have I not always been the one to take care of you when she didn't care? When she was negligent, lackluster, my fingerprint is all over your life. That even though your mother and your father may forsake you, the Lord God Almighty on high will always be my shield and my guide. Even though your mother and your father may forsake you, the Lord will take up your cause. God is the one that raised me, not my mom. God is the one that raised up my sister to take care of me, not my sister herself, because my sister came later on in life. And God is the one that's also going to ascertain that in the season of feeling like I'm nonetheless sustained. God is going to be the one that gives me everything I need, even though you don't take yourself out because people don't care. The other day I remember saying, my mom deserves my suicide, but I don't deserve my suicide. So proper, if rain falls both on the righteous, if it falls both on the wicked and the righteous, understand that calamity ought not necessarily fall on the righteous or on the wicked. Rain is a blessing, so it can fall on everyone, but curses cannot fall on the righteous. It's what you must get. God hates the condemnation of the righteous and the acquittal of the wicked. Therefore, while my mom deserves to be bereft until she dies because her daughter finally killed herself after years of abuse and neglect, I don't deserve to kill myself after years of abuse and neglect. That would be the condemnation of the righteous, while my mother would be getting condemned. She would not endure acquittal. She would not experience or enjoy, acquittal. For my death would judge her. It would punish her, but I would certainly endure condemnation as a righteous woman. Far be it from God. She deserves my suicide. I don't deserve it. Therefore, because God knows that the scale is tipped in all the wrong directions, I will survive again. Second time in my life when I've been neglected to a point of suicide ideation. It happened when I was 21. It's happening again at 41. Papa, look at that age gap. My family members are still throwing me out like to the dogs. And I am still being underestimated, even though I come from a family that's a lot wealthier than that. I come from a family that's got a lot more money. But because men think I'm freaking poor, they're throwing money at my toes. They're out here putting the cricket on my feet, expecting me to jump because because and I can next, but do I not have anything? because I'm working go call center. Until you open your eyes and realize if family members as are dripping diamonds. And yet I'm sitting around me and I admire. I'm sitting in a cesspool. I am like Joseph in prison in Egypt while his brothers are Bahumi, Canaan. I have been betrayed by my brothers. But that does not make me one who doesn't belong to a particular cut of people. The Lord knows from where I have been honed. The Lord knows from where I have been collected. What's about what's about heritage yaka? That even though abantu bakithi nje bayahlanya basangene angizochatiswa kalula nje where God gets it. Abantu bakithi bayahlanya but mina angihlanyi. Abantu bakithi bayahlanya but uGod akahlanyi. Abantu bakithi bayahlanya but abazalwane asihlanyi kuhlanga nina. And so because uhlanya lona proper, God is not going to condemn me right next to all of your mental illness. You will live ngenkani. You will give me everything that is mine. Today I have spoken for way more hours than I usually do because I guess I had to get stuff off my chest. Maybe there is a point in suicide. Maybe that's what God wants me to do. So close to death and not be facing imminent death in and of yourselves. Having caused the family bese umuntu makashonile kaze what's going to be read kuzofundwane obituary letongwala ngo-obituary nyaka when there's 10 freaking years missing from it ilife njengayiphili kuzohlazwa ubani abantu bakithi kodwa ngubani othakathile izinja that are worse even than ubaba wami but wako yesu nabatlohlazwa ke obituary ebasakhona nguyibala ko funeraleng because unoyezalanga kaka maka lona balweleng you would get to celebrate indaba yokuthi where simbulele finally uzikhiphile because abantu bakibo bamkhafulele. But remember I said better the devil you know than the one that you don't know. Ngitseba satana yakho jakateng nyazi abantu bakithi nyabazi ukuthi banjani bakimofuta mang ngiyatseba goba thosa ba thena jwang ngiyatseba go ba robetse ba gona jwang ngiyatseba go ditete tsa bona ke khalamang ngiyatseba go bona le halitosis engga eng ngiyatseba go ba phinya ngga eng ngazi uSatan wakithi. And so therefore I'm manager and I've been dealing with Satan wakithi since I was a child. Anizongibulalisa ngeSatan yakithi ngoba ngiyayazi lenja kodwa nina ni different ni new ni unique. What you are is a gnarly monster entsha efana nama-parkers wase South Africa nifana nama-watercars wase Iran. You are drug lords. Angithembi anginazi nyanuka nama-STD nibabi aningifaneli kodwa ningifuna umfazi wenu ngoba nibhihlise wonke abafazi la emgaqweni bese nizokhumbula isirithi somfazi ejardini and then you wanna try and marry ukarabo hamba niyofa batho nginahako bale madi mo matsogong aka khoskele tlhoile. I'm not gonna let a man come into my life umzombulala. So nyancenga nje get the step in order. Lobola akimudimu while my hands are clean. Ngiyochata eyami indoda owami umyeni angizodrive a tent peg literally into the head of some idiot oblome ejardini yami and next to me embedeni wami hewe abuti. I'm not gonna turn aside and commit murder. Kile comfortable kile kushi ke try the best of things empilweni bese ngiyozilahlela edanyana making like Nandi Pamakutumani. Kilo dula ko prison ke qeta para Gucci. Kilo dula nna ko danyane like Cindy Manqele even though men jwayela amagwenya ke tlwaetse nje fela ho nona ke apikisha di donut le di croissant ebe kilo ya ko prison kilo go bala mo mpetong o sa tlhalaganyeng kilo apara kilo go bala ka kobo exciting kilo dula in a prison cell in Kenya ke sa le di liberty stories of ministry like this because ke bolale monaka ngilo like prison food nje and live in a prison cell ke go bala ko teng ho sna hot water bottle ho sna electric blanket ke borwa ke taba gore ke a gatsela ka winter and winter and chaka summer. How na aircon? I'm just in jail and I'm here for the rest of my days because kibulele nja ana mosotlong collectang now stupusa nja esang affording esang khoning esang boning atlong collect however mo jarateng ha ona njanyana monna o tlong nyalang ke sa spy because na I ke tloya prison ke sena electric blanket all up in that joint and all these comforts and all these pillows. Y'all can tell ki tatela comfort ke rata kush ki comfortable go squishy mo ke leng ke go bala mo pampareng ha le tsonka mpeto ona tle bathong o tletsenga di pillow ka mesamelo e mengata ngata belelong pe ya ko some hard knock bed enang di bed mites a ke tsebe eng enang le ba bisang setup ena snacks dust mites bed sores bed whatever. I'm not gonna go sleep on something that's gonna make me itchy. Do you understand? And then just like rash on my body. Because I mean, did you just not go and commit a crime? So now deal. Got the dust mites, got the bed mites. Just deal. I am not going to sleep on all of that gangrene. Ana mona o tlompeng mo ga hotela ha ona nja e ka se tlo bona gore grandshap ke special like akang aba tlongtloflofa in some strange rondavel ningazongi Kenya man amanye border go and kill and continue to squander bonke labafazi la eMzansi. But as for me Tlhaloganyang, I'm very different. I'm set apart. I'm not the thing ele gawulang ele niblang on nje fela after a night of ukuphuza ungenandaba nomfazi osele ejardini okumele ukuthi ubuye endlini mara wena you're in a hotel with a mistress. I'm not that girl. I'm not the mistress in your freaking hotel while your wife hatsatseng ko gae is expecting wondering o tlo fitla ne phone e off wa gona wena next to a mistress in a hotel. That's your phone. Your wife has sent you 20 WhatsApps. She's angry. She's threatening divorce. She's telling us if I'm moving out. I'm sick and tired of your nonsense, Temba. The next day, 12:30. Yo, and just deal in you just accept ukuthi ngizohlala ngirasola abafasi. You lale hlatswa ke basadi. Nya deal nje fela nya take in your stride. Indaba yokuthi ngizohlala ngilwisa abafasi. And then it gets to a point where now you gotta move out because you're divorcing. And then since kuyabanda kule jarata and now you miss indaba yokuthi mawufika ejardini bakunuka stew. Now you wanna go and make cook that damn stew. For you idiot that caused your wife to make your phone go like a buzzing bee next to your ear while you lay with a mistress. And you tell yourself, listen, I'm checking out of a hotel ka 11. Kitla bona ka 12:30. Mistress ya tengi iluzi ka 12 ka 2,000 rand ta ko ka se ja kota e busy isa dichomi tsa gagwe ko tlapong ka heartbreak e o ya mosadi wa teng while your phone is now quiet because no more is this woman like because after all, are you not divorced? Are you not divorced? And now you want to make me buzz up your phone like that? I'm sorry. You want to cause me to make your phone out to lose its mind. You want to cause me ukuthi nami ni cause iphone yakho ukuthi ibe schizophrenic, ibe bipolar. Hey, eccentric and happy one day with love messages from a wife that's happy because for now you're acting fine. And then kausa no kwaki, throwing her toes out the cot like Kelly's. I hate you so much right now. I'm a bipolar schizophrenic bride that at some point I stop buzzing up your phone with texts because I got over Tabarona Tabalina. But now that's sick banda. Uzo Kenya some other chick in Japan that she don't understand, some woman in another part of the world that does not know that a whole entire plane is coming to her Otomoshela, having been made a vagabond and a vagrant from his own people. Now he wants to rock up and dwell in tents, build homes, build a city. You know how Cain ultimately built a city? Yeah. Uzo build the city later on. And one of his descendants will arrogantly say nonsense like, my great-grandfather Cain, God said that plagues 7 times over if they kill him will land on him. But me, listen, it's 77 times. You don't get to come back at me with revenge. Absolutely arrogant descendants to Cain. And understand that from the descendants of Cain also came the first case of what? Listen, polygamy. The first dude to take more than one wife was one of Cain's descendants. They're the ones that introduced polygamy. So therefore, Nina, that are the descendants of Cain that keep on killing people, or tantamount of descendants of Cain because they were wiped out after the flood. Yini enifundisa about David to go and grab Bathsheba and njengomamfuna. Yini enifundise amadoda to think that they can both be married to Hannah and Penina and not there be striving in the household because 2 women are fighting. Yini enithatha both Rachel and Leah. Yini enithatha futhi ama concubines. You made sure that men could not now anymore basically stay themselves from the rapacity of having more than one wife. And so because of that entitlement, now there are beefs rising up in households between women. Balwana la affection ya banna ba snacks ba tlokoza ngifone tsa bona gore di lose battery because di busy zaza in the middle of the night mo hara hotel askisishe angiyothatha whatever nonsense you are nakirapets bamelang nakirapets I prayed. And so because ngithandazile akunandoda ezofika la ejardini ethi kodwa karabo you need to see where I'm coming from ke tloba nini ya bana ba hao e utlwelang e utlwenyalang ake ba bana ba hao abuti. The only way is if at all they listen to my content and like Charlie Kirk, I'm actually reaching them on university campuses. I'm not to be their stepmom.